The human mind is a labyrinth of endless corridors, each one leading to another question, another possibility, another worry. For some of us, these corridors never end. We are the overthinkers, the ones who replay conversations from 3 years ago at 3 a.m., the ones who prepare for disasters that never materialize, the ones who turn a simple, "I'll call you later," into a dissertation on human relationships and the eventual heat death of the universe. Perhaps you recognize yourself in this description. Or maybe you know someone who exists in this perpetual state of mental motion, analyzing, dissecting, and reconstructing every fragment of reality until it becomes something entirely different, something heavier, something darker. The overthinker's mind is never truly at rest. Even in moments of apparent calm, the cognitive machinery continues its relentless operations beneath the surface. Like a computer running too many programs simultaneously, we exist in a state of constant processing. Every decision becomes a complex equation with innumerable variables. Should I text back immediately or wait? What if my comment in the meeting was misinterpreted? Did that slight pause in conversation mean something I missed? In this age of information abundance, overthinking has found its perfect breeding ground. We're bombarded with choices, comparisons, and stimuli that our ancestors could never have imagined. Social media has transformed private anxieties into public performances. Our thoughts, once confined to the privacy of our minds, now compete for validation in the marketplace of digital attention. There's a peculiar paradox to overthinking. It feels like self-protection, yet it's often self-destruction. We believe we're preparing ourselves, armoring our hearts and minds against potential pain or failure. In reality, we're often constructing elaborate prisons of our own design, placing ourselves in solitary confinement, with our worst fears as our only companions. The overthinker lives simultaneously in multiple timelines, replaying the past, analyzing the present, and projecting countless versions of the future. It's exhausting. It's consuming. And perhaps most tragically, it steals the very thing it pretends to protect: our ability to fully experience our lives as they actually unfold before us. The architecture of overthinking is sophisticated and multi-layered. It's not merely worry or anxiety, though these are certainly components. It's a complex system of mental habits that have crystallized over time, reinforced by both internal and external factors, until they become our default mode of operation. At its core, overthinking often stems from a deep-seated fear of vulnerability. The mind that analyzes everything is attempting to establish control in a world that fundamentally resists being controlled. If I can just think of every possibility, the logic goes, I can protect myself from being hurt, from failing, from appearing foolish. It's the ultimate defense mechanism, a shield constructed of thoughts. You might recognize this pattern in yourself or someone you know. The person who meticulously plans every detail of a presentation, anticipating every possible question or objection. The friend who replays a minor social interaction for days, extracting new meanings with each mental iteration. The partner who reads between the lines of every text message, searching for hidden meanings in the spaces between words. The irony is that this exhaustive mental processing rarely leads to better outcomes. Research has shown that overthinking often impairs decision-making rather than enhancing it. The cognitive overload creates a kind of paralysis, where the abundance of options and considerations makes any choice feel inadequate. We become trapped in a loop of analysis without action. Perhaps most insidiously, overthinking creates a false sense of productivity. The mental exertion feels like work, important work, and yet it frequently yields diminishing returns. We mistake motion for progress, conflating the activity of our minds with actual forward movement in our lives. The overthinker can spend hours solving problems that don't exist yet, preparing for conversations that may never occur, rehearsing for scenarios that belong to possible futures rather than probable ones. Behind much of this mental hyperactivity lies a perfectionist streak. The overthinker is often someone who cannot tolerate uncertainty or ambiguity. The messy, improvisational nature of human existence feels threatening rather than liberating. There's a rigid quality to the overthinker's relationship with reality, a need to categorize, predict, and control that which is inherently fluid and unpredictable. and so the mind spins on, like a wheel detached from its axle, consuming energy without generating forward momentum. The tragedy is not the thinking itself. Thought is, after all, our most magnificent human gift, but rather the way overthinking disconnects us from the direct experience of our lives, placing an invisible barrier between ourselves and authentic engagement with the world. The social dimension of overthinking reveals another layer of complexity. Overthinkers often appear completely self-sufficient on the surface. They're the ones with contingency plans for their contingency plans. They're prepared for every outcome, armed with research and analysis. They rarely ask for help because they've convinced themselves they shouldn't need it. This apparent self-sufficiency masks a profound vulnerability. Beneath the fortress of thoughts lies a heart desperately seeking connection, but terrified of rejection. The overthinker's independence is frequently a defensive posture rather than a genuine preference. It's easier to rely on oneself than risk the unpredictability of depending on others. You may have encountered this pattern in relationships with overthinkers. They often struggle with direct communication, preferring to analyze signals and infer meanings, rather than simply asking clarifying questions. They may withdraw when feeling overwhelmed, retreating into the familiar territory of their thoughts, rather than navigating the messier landscape of interpersonal communication. The digital age has both complicated and enabled these tendencies. Text messages and emails allow for endless reinterpretation. Social media creates constant opportunities for comparison and self-evaluation. The algorithms that shape our online experiences tend to reinforce our existing thought patterns, creating echo chambers that amplify rather than challenge our mental habits. Overthinkers often develop a strange relationship with time. The present moment becomes merely a waypoint between analysis of the past and preparation for the future. This temporal displacement robs life of its immediacy. While everyone else is experiencing the concert, the overthinker is busy evaluating the acoustics, comparing this performance to the last one, wondering what everyone else thinks, and planning what they'll say about it later. This distance from direct experience creates a peculiar kind of loneliness. The overthinker may be physically present but mentally elsewhere, separated from shared reality by layers of analysis. Even in intimate relationships, this tendency can create a sense of disconnection. The partner of an overthinker may feel they're never fully reaching the person behind the thoughts, that there's always a part being held back, analyzing rather than engaging. Perhaps most poignantly, the overthinker's hyper-awareness of others' perceptions often leads to a diminished sense of self. When every action is filtered through the imagined judgments of others, authentic self-expression becomes nearly impossible. The question shifts from, "What do I want?" to, "What will they think if I choose this?" This external orientation creates a life lived at one remove, observed rather than fully inhabited. There is a way forward for those of us with minds that won't quiet. The first step lies not in fighting against overthinking, but in recognizing it with compassion. The overthinking mind is not broken. It's simply misapplying its magnificent powers of analysis and imagination. It's a Ferrari being used to navigate narrow, winding mountain roads when it was designed for the open highway. Learning to work with an active mind rather than against it begins with awareness. Notice the difference between productive thinking and circular rumination. Productive thinking leads to insights, decisions, and actions. Rumination merely retraces the same mental territory without generating new understanding. The key is not to think less, but to think differently, with purpose rather than by compulsion. For many overthinkers, the practice of mindfulness offers a powerful counterbalance. Mindfulness is not about emptying the mind, but rather about changing our relationship with thoughts. It teaches us to observe our thinking patterns without being completely identified with them. The shift from "I am my thoughts" to "I am having thoughts" creates a crucial space of freedom. Physical practices can provide essential grounding for the overthinking mind. Movement, breathwork, and sensory engagement pull attention back into the body and the present moment. The overthinking mind lives in abstractions. The body exists only in the here and now. Regular connection with physical reality, through exercise, nature, or simply mindful awareness of sensations, creates a necessary counterweight to mental proliferation. Perhaps most importantly, overthinkers need to practice vulnerability. The fortress of thoughts that seems to offer protection actually prevents the very connections that would truly sustain us. Learning to share our authentic experiences, to ask directly for what we need, to admit uncertainty, these acts require courage but yield profound rewards. When we step out from behind our mental shields, we discover that genuine connection offers a security that no amount of analysis can provide. The greatest paradox for the overthinker is that our strength lies precisely where we perceive our weakness. The capacity for deep reflection, for seeing multiple perspectives, for imagining various possibilities. These are extraordinary gifts when channeled purposefully. The same mind that can spin endless worst-case scenarios can also generate creative solutions, profound insights, and meaningful contributions. The journey from overthinking to balanced thinking isn't about changing who you are, but rather about reclaiming the power of choice. It's about being able to engage your analytical faculties when they serve you, and to set them aside when they don't. It's about recognizing that the true self isn't found in endless thoughts about the self, but in direct, unmediated experience of life as it unfolds. For in the end, the mind makes a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. And the most profound wisdom may be in knowing when to think, and when, simply, to be. If you enjoyed this exploration into the overthinking mind, please like this video and subscribe to see more content like this. I'm curious, what part of the world are you watching from? Let me know in the comments below.